Hi, I'm Lorraine from Holywood Pilates, and today we're going to do a beginner improver mat class. So this class is for you if you haven't done any Pilates for a long time or if you've never done any Pilates at all. And the beauty of an online class is you can press pause and take a rest at any stage if you need to. If you enjoy this class, I've got full online bundles that you can enjoy at home, and I'll share details of this towards the end. So let's get ourselves going. We're going to start and warm up in standing. So take a moment and just bring your feet underneath your hips. Make sure they're straight and make sure the weight is even, right and left, and that you have some pressure on each big toe, each little toe, and each heel. Your knees are soft, kneecaps are facing to the front. We're going to bring our hands up to our waist and we're going to go into our pelvic tilts first of all. So we're tipping the pelvis forward, tipping the pelvis backwards. Arching the lower back slightly as you tip forward and flattening the lower back as you tip backwards. Trying not to move anything else. So head, neck and shoulders nice and steady. And I want you to feel the movement that you have in either direction here. And then we're going to come and rest in the middle of those two extremes in what we call neutral, and we're actively going to hold that position. Then I want you to check your lower ribs. So rib cage tucks down towards the pelvis. We're going to open as wide as we can across our collarbones, slide the shoulder blades down to the back pockets, tuck the chin in, and finally grow at least half an inch taller up through your spine. And when you do that, you should feel that you're connecting with your lower tummy muscles. So you should feel a gentle pull in there. Holding that position, give me a slow deep breath in. Fill up your lungs and give me a slow deep breath all the way back out. So let's just start nice and gently with some shoulder rolls. So we're going to roll the shoulders backwards, release any tension that you might be holding here. And then leave your shoulder blades down towards your back pockets again. Take your arms up just to shoulder height, hold here. And give me a nice breath as you open wide to the side and close over. Now think about your feet for a moment and make sure that the weight is staying as you set it at the beginning, so you still have those pressures, big toes, little toes, and heels. Let's just do one more here, getting nice and wide across the chest. Take a breath and closing over. Reach the arms for the ceiling circle out and around. So as big a circle as your shoulders are happy to give you, but never force a joint that doesn't want to go. So use all available movement, but it shouldn't feel sore. So if you have an old shoulder injury or you have a joint that just feels a little bit more limited, then just do what it can do. One last one here, and then we're going to get our legs to move. So we're going to sit the pelvis back into a squat, arms reach forward, and then we're going to straighten up and just press those arms right back behind us. And let's do a few more like that. Try and keep your legs in parallel. So hips, knees, and feet all stay on the straight line. Watch out for those knees creeping in towards each other. We'll do two more here. And we're going to hold this last one in that squat position. If you can, come back to the pelvic tilt for a moment. So tip the pelvis backwards, flattening your lower back. Tip the pelvis forwards, arching the lower back, and then come and rest in the middle. Take a breath as you open wide into that chest stretch, just like we did when we were standing straight. And again, with the breath, weight should be in your heels. Now one more, open wide and close, and then we're going to press through the heels, straighten ourselves up and bring your hands back to your waist. So we're going to just do some leg lifts here. If you feel a bit unsteady and you need something to hold on to, then bring in a chair or move a little closer to a sturdy bit of furniture. We're going to try and stay really tall as we slowly lift one leg and slowly set that leg down, and same on the other side, and setting down. So there's going to be a little bit of side to side movement, but we don't want too much, and we want to try and keep the shoulders in line with the hips. We don't want to go into a sway or a bend if we can avoid it. Just one more to each side. Staying tall, finding that balance if you can. And then we're going to rest down and we're going to come into our Pilates roll down. So refine the posture that we set at the very beginning. Grow that half an inch taller through your spine and feel that connection with your lower tummy. Breathe in. As you breathe out, we're going to start to roll forward from the top. So every part of the spine needs to wait its turn. We have our head, neck, shoulders, our upper back rolling, and then we're coming to the middle back. We can soften or bend the knees as much as we need to here to keep that curl going with control. And then you stop at whatever point you feel that stretch come on. So take a breath or two there. Make sure your head is heavy, your neck muscles are relaxed. And then we're going to bend the knees more, scoop the tummy up, send the tail down first so you're in a full spinal curve. And we're going to start to restack this spine up. Bone by bone by bone by bone, shoulders drop down, chin tucks in. We're going to do one more like that, and this time I'll stand side on so that you can see a different view. So again, most important is that you grow that half an inch taller. You feel those lower tummy muscles connecting. Take your breath. And as you breathe out, we're going to start to slowly roll from the top. Try not to swing back at your hips. So try and get the spine to go into as much bend as it's happy to do. Knees are bending, tummy still lifting up. And we're getting a nice stretch on the back line of the body. So again, you stop whenever feels good to you. Holding down in that stretch, breathing. And then we're going to bend the knees a little more, lift up the tummy, send the tail down. We're still in a full spinal curve, and then we start to restack, uncurling, growing tall, shoulders dropping down, chin tucking in. And from here, we're going to come down to the mat. So we're going to start on all fours. So come down and just take a moment to find a good start position here. So knees directly under hips. Hands slightly in front of the shoulders, and that's important. If your hands are too far in, you're going to have a lot more stretch on your wrists. And one of the most common issues with this position is people getting sore wrists. Now I'll show you a modification you can do for that in a moment. But if you can, hands just slightly in front of the shoulders. And the other thing to do is to really spread your fingers quite wide. So you've got quite a wide span, and that's just distributing the load a little bit more evenly. From here, then we're going to go up into a cat stretch. So we're going to start this one from the tailbone. We're going to tuck the tail, lift the tummy. We're going to round the lower back. We're going to bring that curve to the middle back, into the upper back, head, neck, and shoulders. We're pushing the floor away, getting a really nice curve in your spine here. Take a breath. And then we're going to come back to a tabletop position that we started in. Let's do one more like that. So we tuck the tail, scoop up the tummy, round the lower back, round the middle back, upper back, head, neck, and shoulders. Push the floor away and breathe. And then we're coming back to our tabletop position. So this time, we're going to hold the upper body steady, and we're just going to pelvic tilt. So we're going to flatten the lower back, tilting the pelvis backwards, lifting up through the tummy, and then we're going to arch the lower back, tilting the pelvis forward, and just doing that a few more times. So the tricky thing here is to try and keep that middle and upper back really still and steady, and just localize the movement to the lower back and pelvis. And then like we did in standing, we're going to find the middle of those two movements and hold there. Then we just want to think about the upper body position. So often people start to sag the breastbone down towards the floor, bringing those shoulder blades together at the back. So think about widening your shoulder blades, pushing your breastbone up from the floor, unshrugging your shoulders, and lengthening the back of the neck, nodding the chin in so that your spine is in line. We're going to hold there. Breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to take just one leg and we're going to straighten it back behind us. Oh, I'm going to come off my mat. Straighten it back behind us, and then we're going to lift that straight leg and lower down. Lift it and lower it. Now, if you are not happy having this pressure on your wrist, the thing to do would be to drop down to your forearms so that we're not loading a little differently through the upper body, but we can still do the same exercise where we're straight leg lifting and lowering. The pelvis is still in the mid position. You have to watch a little more carefully that your shoulders don't shrug, and you want to keep your neck long. So that is a modification if anyone needs it, if the wrists are getting too uncomfortable. The other thing you can do is either come onto a fist like that, or you can actually get a little handle that you can hold on to, which again just keeps your wrist straight as you're bearing load through it rather than putting it into a stretch position. So there are ways and means. So we're still on the same leg and we're lifting, we're lowering. We're working to maintain the whole body position. So although you have one hip lifting and lowering, you're scanning the whole body position, making sure those shoulders don't start to drop down, that your head hasn't fallen forward, that you're not arching or flattening the lower back as you're moving this leg. Let's do 3 more here. Holding that knee perfectly straight if you can too. And last one. We'll slide that leg back in and let's switch over. So straight back. Try not to shift the hips way over past the other hip if you can help it. Lift up through those abdominals, hold your spinal position nice and steady, and off we go with our straight leg lift and lower. So this movement is coming from your buttock muscles. It is just the hip moving. We're holding the knee nice and straight so your thigh muscles are working as well. And it's as you keep going and you start to tire and fatigue a little bit that it becomes harder to hold everything in position. And that's when we're starting to strengthen. So let's go 3 and 2. Last one, we're going to slide back in and we're going to sit back towards our heels, push the arms forward into a shell stretch and just take a breath or 2 there. And the other thing I like to do in this stretch is to curl the toes under and push back again, and that brings the stretch right into the under surface of the foot, and those toes can get really stiff. So we'll hold there for a breath or 2, and then we're going to come back up, uncurl the toes, and let's bring ourselves into a sideline position. So we're doing a little bit of everything in this class. We're going to support the head. You can bring in a cushion if that's more comfortable, or a head pillow. You can have your arms straight. You can have your elbow bent. What you want is your neck to be able to relax in a good position. So hips and knees are bent. We're going to line up the feet with the hips and the shoulders. We're absolutely on our side. Again, we're going to come back to that gentle pelvic tilt and then find the middle position. Tuck the ribs. Relax the shoulders. We'll keep the top hand on top if you can. And then we're going to take our feet and come up maybe about 6 inches from the floor, not too high. The other thing I like to do here is then take the body and just roll it a little closer to the floor in front, so that we're really going to target our glute muscles. We're clamming, so we're going to take a breath in as we breathe out. We're opening the clam, we're keeping the heels together, and we're smoothly, slowly closing down. So I want you to think of controlling both directions of movement. It's slow and it's smooth, like a lot of things in Pilates. It's about control of movement, and if you go too fast, you're not actually controlling. What you're looking for here is, as you get a little more tired, you might find that the top hip pushes back as it opens and the pelvis is starting to look up towards the ceiling. So look out for that and try not to let it happen. The other thing might happen is that the ribs start to push forward a little bit, which takes your spine into a little bit of a curve, an extension curve. And again, we don't want that. We want to try and find the top note of this movement each and every time. So as you keep going, try not to let the movement get slightly smaller and smaller. And at the very top of that movement, you're going to feel just a bit of a grip into the back of your hip. So let's take this one and hold it. This is our last one. So let's just hold it right up there at the top. And just holding it, if you're at the very limit of your range, you're definitely going to feel that work. Check in with everywhere else through the body. Make sure everything is holding a good position. Your shoulders are relaxed. They can't help you right now. And we're still holding for 3, for 2, and 1. And then we'll close that clam down and we'll rest the legs. So we're just going to do one more inside lying. We're going to straighten out the top leg. And then I want you to even try and straighten it a little bit more. So really feel that you're squeezing the front of your thigh to hold this leg straight. Then we want to check that we have a little gap between the waist and the floor. If you can't feel that, put your top hand on the top of your pelvis and just almost lift it up and away. And that will open up this gap. Your leg is in line with your hips and your shoulders. So the other thing I see quite regularly is the leg starts to drift to the front a little bit. So see if you can hold in line. Take a breath. As you breathe out, we're going to point and lift. As you breathe in, we're going to flex the ankle and lower down. The whole time, we're keeping that gap between the waist and the floor open. So if you lift too high and you run out of hip movement, you're going to start to side bend and squash down. So try and keep this, again, purely in your hip. So it's not really about how high you can lift. It's about using all the available range that you have before other compensations start to come in. So let's just go here for 3. It's starting to feel like work. See if that knee is still perfectly straight. 2, and then this last one, like we did with our clam, shall we just hold it, hold it, hold it, scan the whole body position again, make sure everything is where it should be. Take one more breath, and we'll lower the leg down, bend that hip in, and just give the hip a little rub. So we'll switch sides and repeat. So we're going to reset our position for our clam. Make sure your head is supported, your feet line up with your hips and your shoulders, pelvic tilt back and forward, find and hold the middle, ribs tuck, and then we're going to lift those feet just 6 inches or so, and like a plank, roll the body just a little closer towards the floor. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, off we go, opening and closing. And seeing how it feels on this hip. It can feel completely different one hip to the other. You might have old injuries, you might have surgeries, but often we're not perfectly symmetrical beings. So you tend to have one leg that's a little stronger than the other. You tend to have a bit more movement one side than the other. So just see how you feel. Keep checking that you're not rolling that pelvis back as you lift the leg, but that you are using all the available movement that your hip can give you. We'll go for 3 if you can. Breathing out, opening 2. Getting ready to hold this one at the top like we did on the first side. It's just a hold. But right up there where you feel that grippiness in the buttock muscles. Check the tummy is on, the ribs are still tucked, you're still on your side. We're breathing for 3, 2, 1, and we'll close the clam down, rest those legs. Take a breath. We're nearly there in side line. We're going to straighten out our top leg, and we're going to even straighten it a little more if we can. We're going to push the top pelvis away, open up the gap between the waist and the floor, and check that the leg is in line with your hip and your shoulder, not creeping a little to the front. Breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to point and lift. As you breathe in, we're going to flex and lower. If the breathing is tying you up in knots a little bit, then just don't worry about it for now. Just breathe. Just breathe in whatever pattern feels natural for you until you get a little bit more used to the movements and the exercises. So we're holding that knee perfectly straight. As we keep going, we don't want the leg to drift to the front. We're checking in with the waist, making sure that gap is still open, shoulders are still relaxed. And if you can, we'll go for 3. We'll go for 2. And this last one we're going to try and hold. So find the top of your movement. Make sure that that gap is still open between the waist and the floor. Make sure that your top knee is really straight. Feel the work, just holding steady for 3, 2, 1, and down we come. Bend that leg in and give that hip a rub. Well done. So the last position we're going to work in is lying on our back. So bend your hips and your knees. And we're setting the position fairly similar to how we did in standing. So feet hip width apart, same gap between the knees. We're coming back to our pelvic tilt. We're going to flatten, we're going to arch. We're moving between those two extremes, really trying to isolate the movement around your middle. And then we're going to come and rest in the midway neutral position. So we're not completely flat, we're not completely arched, but we're holding a small dip in our lower back. Ribs are tucked down, and in lying, it's quite nice to have the feedback of the mat and your lower rib cage. So they should stay in contact. Upper back is heavy, shoulders are relaxed, chin is tucked in, and then we're going to do a slow deep breath in, and a slow deep breath all the way back out. So we're going to start with our arms here. We're going to take our arms directly above the shoulders and drop heavy again through your shoulder blades. We're going to keep going with an overhead arm reach. And what we're feeling for is that feedback of the lower rib cage and the mat. So we don't want a gap to appear and the rib cage to lift. We want to hold a nice steady position, keeping that spine from moving. Now your shoulders don't have to go all the way back. You don't have to touch the floor behind you. Just go where you go, but focus on controlling the movement so that this is purely a shoulder movement and your spine is not trying to help you out. Your neck stays long, your chin tucked in, whether you're using a small head cushion or not. So we're getting a nice bit of stretch there. We'll do one last one. Keeping that contact between the lower rib and your mat, and then we're going to just bring the arms right back to the floor beside us again. We're going to take one hip and we're going to twist it out to the side. The focus is nearly more on the other side and holding it steady. And we're going to come back in smoothly. We're going to change legs. So the opposite side of the pelvis shouldn't lift. The leg that's not moving shouldn't drift out to the side a little bit. So go slow enough so that you can feel what's moving and what's not moving. We want to get our movements precise and controlled. We're going to do one more to each side like this. Breathing out as you twist out, breathing in as you come back in. Or just make sure that you are breathing. Final one for now. We're going to come back to our start position. We're still holding that neutral pelvis as now we take one leg up to tabletop. So we're square at our hip, we're square at our knee, and we're going to smoothly set that leg down. Changing sides, trying not to tip or tilt the pelvis too much, and setting down. Keeping going. This is your scissor. And if it's going well, we'll hold one leg in tabletop and still keeping that pelvis nice and steady. We're going to scissor switch our legs over in midair. So one coming up, one coming down. And we're trying to hold really steady between the pelvis and the ribcage so that we're not getting an arch or a jump. We need to recruit those lower abdominal muscles to hold us still. If you do feel a lot of movement, then keep it one leg at a time for now. And with time and practice, you will find that you get a bit stronger and you can control the weight of both legs. So we're going to hold whichever leg you have in tabletop there, and we're going to go back to our hip twist this time. We're twisting the leg from that tabletop position, but our focus is still what's happening on the other side. So we don't want to drift the other knee out. We don't want to lift up on that side of the pelvis. We're keeping even pressure through our shoulder blades if we can. Let's do one more. And back we come. We're going to change those legs over. Second side. If you're looking at your leg, your foot should stay hidden by your knee at all times. And again, you're only going where your hip joint can take you. So as soon as you feel anything else wanting to join in the movement, then pause and just come back in. Let's do one more here. And then we're going to come back and we're going to set that foot down. So hands now come up and in behind the head. We're going to do some chest lifts. So think of that pelvis staying in the middle position. Reset it if you need to. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to curl the upper body up off the floor now, but we're not squashing the lower back into the mat. So think about you're looking directly at the wall in front of you. You want to get quite a nice high lift if you can. And what we don't want to feel here is a lot of pressure on the neck. So your head is resting in your hands, your elbows are wide, and the higher that you curl up, you'll feel more pressure on your upper abdominals than you will at the front of your neck. So we're going to come up for 3 more, and resting down. Trying to breathe out as we curl up rather than suck in, if you can help it. One last one. We're going to come up, 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 and we're smoothly going to lower down. So then we're going to think about maybe taking our right arm long beside us, and we're going to come up and over towards that right knee. So we curl up, left elbow moves a little closer to the right knee, and we rest down. Let's do 2 more to this side. Legs aren't moving, and we're still not squashing the lower back into the floor. 1 more. And back we come. We're going to change over. Take your breath, and as you breathe out, we curl up and over, right elbow towards left knee, and we rest on. And 2 more into our oblique prep. Last one. And we rest on. And then just take a breather for a moment. So we're going to do a slightly harder one. See how you go. We're going to bring the hands in behind the head. And we're going to put our leg scissor and our oblique prep together. So we're going to lift one leg. And at the same time, we're going to curl up and twist over towards that leg. That middle third of you is not moving. So you're not squashing the lower back into the floor. You're not tipping or tilting at your pelvis. And we're keeping this fairly slow so that we can really work to control all the movement. Now, for those of you who are finding this level fairly comfortable, we could hold up and just take it 1 step further by scissor switching the legs and crisscrossing, holding that chest lift the whole time. You still want to be able to maintain your neutral pelvis. So if that feels like a step too far for you, then go back to 1 leg lifting and lowering at a time. And it's something to aim for and build up to. But the most important thing is that you're getting control of your movement, that you're keeping good form, and that you're working at an appropriate level. So make sure it feels appropriate to you. Let's do 1 more to each side of whichever level you are working at. And then the final exercise we're going to do is our shoulder bridge. So after all that tummy work, it's going to be quite nice just to stretch out the front of the hips. So for this one, if you've been using a head cushion, just move it out of your way and walk your heels closer in towards you. And the first thing that we do for our shoulder bridge is we pelvic tilt and we flatten the lower back down. So it's one of the only exercises that we do let that lower back flatten. We're going to squeeze the buttock muscles and we're going to peel our way slowly up, bone by bone, finding a nice straight line shoulder bridge position, stretching across the front of the hips. Now, little check of the rib cage, so don't let the ribs hike up too high. That's going to feel a bit achy on your spine. So we're going to just tuck those ribs and not go high. It shouldn't feel achy. It should feel that you're working at the back of your hips and you're maybe getting a bit of a stretch at the front. The harder bit is to go back down with control. So keep your hips up and let's start to roll from the top to the bottom, trying not to set everything down like one plank of wood. We want to curl our way back down, and when you get all the way down, we're going to open up that gentle gap at your lower back. So let's go one more time. Breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to flatten the lower back, squeeze the buttocks and peel that spine up. Keep the legs in parallel. Think about stretching across the front of your hips. You can use your arms as much as you need to. You can push them down into the floor. Ribs are keeping in check, pointing to the pelvis. We're breathing at the top, and then we're going to curl slowly and smoothly down in reverse order. Rolling all the way to the floor. And I like to hug in after I've done some bridging and even just have a bit of a sway from side to side. So we're going to bring ourselves back up. We'll finish in sitting. So we'll just do a stretch or two here. We'll maybe bring the soles of the feet together if you can, and let your knees drop out to the side. And at the same time, see if you can lift a little taller through your spine without the knees coming back in. Hold there and take a nice breath. And out. One more nice breath in, keeping that really tall spine. And a breath out. So then we're going to come maybe into a cross-legged position if that works for you, or you can have your legs out in front. Again, we want to hold really tall through the spine. We're going to bring the arms up and in behind the head here. We're going to breathe in to shrug your shoulders. Feel that tension. Breathe out, let go. Reach up for the ceiling and stretch out for the walls. One more time. Sweep up. Keep that tall spine. Hands behind your head. Breath in, shrug. Breath out, let go. Reach up for the ceiling. Stretch out for the walls, and then let the arms come down and just roll out your shoulders. Very well done. That is this class complete. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if it's been a while since you've done any Pilates that it's brought it all back to you. And for those of you who are brand new, I hope that it's given you a good introduction. If you did enjoy this class, then you will love the bundles that we do every month. So you'll get 4 classes in a month, and you can repeat them as often as you like. They'll all be a little bit different with a different emphasis, and I will guide you through them like I've done with this class. So link just at the bottom if you're interested. Thank you.